What do you know about the beautiful state of Rhode Island? To start with, the beaches are pristine, the food is superb, and the hotels are relaxing. And there are countless things to do and see, including art museums, history tours, boating, hiking, the Gilded Age Newport mansions, and hundreds of exciting events each year. Breeze Airways flies into Providence for a quick and easy trip. Come and see for yourself. Learn more and plan your trip today at visitrhodeisland.com.
You're up before the sun, the men and women we count on every day. And when you need us most, your Carolina Ford dealers are here for you. Discover what it means to be true blue. For great offers on a new Ford truck or SUV, see your Carolina Ford dealer today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lovely J Podcast. This is your host, Miss Coco Bowden. Can I give myself a hand, y'all? Is it okay I do that? Yes, it is. Okay. So, I decided today, I had, you know what? Let me do this right quick. I forgot to do it, but y'all, bear with me. Let me unplug this refrigerator, because I don't want this refrigerator in my background. And y'all, please remind me to plug it back up. Okay? It's just a mid-sized one, so everything will be alright. Okay. I'm going to let y'all know, off the gate, I am a little sick today. Okay? I'm a little nasally. And, and when I tell y'all that I feel it. I really do feel it, y'all. But I feel like talking too. Like, I feel like congested and all that. But I do feel like talking. So if you hear me taking breaths, it's because I am winded right now. Meaning basically that my breathing is a little shallow, kind of. At times it might even sound a little bit labored. But I'm okay. Okay? I got my asthma pumps and all that good stuff to the side. I got my medication. I don't know, I'm having an allergic reaction to something. This reaction has been going on for a while, and now it's just turned into something totally, that I don't even know what to call it right about now. But it turned into something. And it's real heavy, but I'm going to be okay. But today, I wanted to talk about amnesia and complex PTSD and the therapy that I took and how I survived it, because this is a topic that people don't like to talk about a lot of times when it comes to mental health, because surely, and I will tell you this, if you do tell people about your mental health, make sure that your mental health is strong enough that you can stand it, that you can stand up for yourself if they throw it back in your face, if they try to discredit you with it. Make sure you are strong enough that you can handle the repercussions of putting your business out there in the public. See, I put my business out there in the public, but I also had already did my homework on knowing who I was, what I could stand and what I couldn't stand. One thing I could tell you with complex PTSD, when it was active in my life, I learned how to, in order to live without those symptoms bothering me, I had to learn how to deal with people. I had to learn how to be delivered from people. And I tell you, when you get delivered from people, there's nothing that you cannot do in this world. You can show up butt crack naked and have no problem with it. You can live the way you live and have no problem with it because you know who you are. You know who got you. You know your foundation. And that's the first thing I would say that got me through surviving having amnesia. So let's get to the thing of how I got amnesia, and let me tell you what the amnesia was like for me, because I don't want to just beat around the bush and just talk. I'm going to get to it all because it might get kind of lengthy. I don't know. But we'll see how this thing goes. Now, I've told this story several times before that I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2019 after one of my structures here on my property burned down, which was a place where a studio, you know, people go and rap and have their fun out there. And what happened, is that I was in my home, the trailer that I'm in now, which is right beside it. It was right beside it. It was like how you have like a storage building and then you just kind of make it either it kind of became a man little cave, but it was for storage and it was for, where I could put my stuff at and, it just had all kind of stuff in it. It was just a good place for a little office thing and, y'all know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, let's get to it. It was a place you could go out and hang out. If you needed that time away, if you just need to get outside the house, you could go right out there and chill and don't have to worry about nobody bothering you. Anyway, in May 3rd, 2019, I woke up to smoke and I had on my CPAP mask because I got sleep apnea and I had the CPAP mask on. And while I've got this mask on, this is what's going on. I'm tossing and turning and I'm like irritated in my sleep. I want to say it was around about 5 something in the morning, maybe 4 something. I'm not sure. But at this time I was sleeping in my son's old room, which is a smaller room and it's close to the door. I was sleeping in that room and my head is literally right at the window. Like it's right there at the window. So all I have to do is hold my head up and my eyes can look and see what's outside. And what I did that night, I went to sleep as usual. Didn't think nothing would happen. Told my son good night. And I was about my business. He was about his. For all I know, my son was out there at that trailer when I went to bed. And I woke up to smell the smoke and was quite still sleepy like. So I went back to sleep because I didn't really realize what was going on. I didn't realize that was smoke in my mask. I thought I was like kind of dreaming or something. And so I dozed back off to sleep. Then it got where I couldn't breathe. It started suffocating me now because it's all in my mouth. I mean, my mouth, my mask, my nose is full of smoke. Everything is full of smoke. And I hear this loud boom. I mean, it was so loud. Can I do it in y'all's ear? Can you back away for a minute? Disclaimer, if you have PTSD or this may be a triggering story for you, please just exit the podcast. Don't worry about it. You ain't got to listen to it because this can be triggering for some people. I've had some people tell me when I tell my story that they start smelling smoke and, they start, just feeling like they're back in to whatever situation they was in. So if you can't handle it, just go ahead and get off, okay? I won't take it hard. Trust me. I understand how it is. Okay. Let me go. So I'm going to put the phone away from me so I can let you know how loud that boom was. It was like, boom! Like that. Now that was pretty loud. Oh my God. It kind of echoed in here. That was loud. That's how it was for me. I jumped. And I looked out the window. That was the first thing I did because the boom came from behind me. So that was a natural reflex to jump up and look out the window. And when I did, all I saw was all this, y'all, call me crazy if you want to. All I saw was flames up over my head. It just looked like the flames was over my trailer. And like, to me, it looked like something was holding it back. Even though it was over my trailer, it was like something was holding it back. It had just like took a leap from where it was burning and it was so big and huge. And myself thinking that it's daybreak. I'm like, wow. And I said this out loud. I said, wow, that's a big daybreak. I couldn't even think of the name to call it. I actually called it daybreak. I said, that's a big daybreak. And then I had to look again. And when I looked again, I said, oh my God. And I said, it's a fire. And the first thing I said, oh my God, my son. And so I jump up out of here and I start running. And I get out of the house. I grab my phone, grab my keys. Because speaking of keys, there go the key thing again. See, my keys is always beside me. I grab my keys right beside me and my phone and I take off running and I go to see if he's in there. And I start screaming because I'm trying to get him. At the same time, I'm on the phone with 911. Y'all, I need some help. trailer caught on fire. My son may be in there. And I mean, I'm just losing it bad. But at the same time, I'm holding it together because, when you push to that strength, you don't know what kind of strength you have until you get pushed into a position where you have to use your strength. And so I pushed my strength in. I got pretty close to the trailer, but then the blaze was too much. I couldn't do it. I just finally got in my car and I said, let me drive down my daughter's house, see if I can go get them to help. And I got to my daughter's house and, I got everybody up and I was like, I need help. And so they came out and basically nobody could do nothing but stand and couldn't do nothing but stand back and wait for the fire department. Thank God for the fire department. Station 5 came down and here in our town came down and they put it out. Thank God. But this was the second time that the fire department had been there. Because let me go. I've never talked about this before, but let me start this. Okay, so this was the second time that Station 5 had been out here. The first time they came in the same day, it was the same day, was I was sitting to my table and I was cooking something. I was making a video for y'all or something to go on YouTube and TikTok. And that's when my daughter comes running. All I hear is feet. I mean, my daughter and my grandchildren, they're running hard. Well, it was my daughter. All I hear is feet. And I'm like, what's wrong? She said, Mom, get out of the house. Your backyard is on fire. Mind you, I'm sitting right there at the window. But at this time, at my back window, I have a curtain there keeping the sun out because I have migraines. So a lot of times I used to keep dark curtains out because, the least little bit of light in triggers my migraines. So I didn't know what was going on. Nobody told me nothing about anything being on fire. My backyard was on fire. It was on fire, and the fire was already heading toward that trailer. And I thought earlier in that day that I was going to lose that same trailer. Fire department came down, they put it out, and they left. Everybody walked around and the fire was gone. It looked as if it was all out. But somewhere along the line, somebody snuck back and they put gas into that trailer and tried to make it look like it was part of the first fire. And the detective told me that morning, it was about 6 something in the morning, maybe 6:46 a.m. is what I'm seeing as I'm saying this in the morning. And he was like, Miss Bowden, you got any enemies? I said, enemies? No, not that I mean, we all got enemies, but not that I know of here in the community or anything. I was like, no, I don't have any enemies that, not nobody that I fell out with around here or anything. And he said, because this was done intentionally. This was done on purpose and gas was used. And in that moment, it was like, oh my God, somebody's really trying to get rid of me. And as much as I want it to still sound like it's a lie and like it's just a story out of Lifetime or something, it's not a story out of Lifetime. It's real truth. And I do have, the papers from the detective because I had to do a whole police report and get the report from the fire department and all that. Had to do all of that with the detective. They still haven't told me anything on it. I don't even think, I think they pretty much just call it like one of those cases that just go cold. I don't even think nobody's looking into it because now we're in the 2024 and I didn't hear no more back from the detective on it. But now let's move on down further. So that happened in 2019. I didn't have no problems, right then. I didn't. But it got where about a month after it happened, it got where I kept reliving it. Like, it just kept playing over and over. Now, I didn't do it now. It didn't bother me until like a month after. Before then, I was sleeping right. I was eating okay. I was, just like, well, it's okay. I just thank God for life. We can get another trailer. We can do that again. But by June, the middle of June, something was wrong with me. I didn't know what it was, but something was wrong with me. I couldn't pick it up. It wasn't anxiety. It was a type of anxiety, but it was where I couldn't recognize what it was. I didn't recognize what it was. As much mental health as I studied, this I did not recognize. It was new to me. And it got where I just kept living that moment over and over. And I just kept seeing that I call them wings, y'all. Okay. Call me crazy, but I believe in angels. I call it angel wings because it was spread across and it was holding that fire from coming down on me. I believe in angels. And if you see the pictures that I have from that night, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it just held it up. And I kept seeing that over and over. And it got to a point where I stopped sleeping. It was hard to go to sleep. Every little thought was about it. Even though I tried to work it out on paper, I tried to get rid of it. I was like, I know God is not giving me this. But you'll be surprised what God will allow you to go through so you can get the lesson out of it, because he allowed me to be tested and tried. And I believe so much in God that I said, I've got to go get help with this. After it happened for about, I think it was down into my second month, I was like, I need to go get some professional help with this. Let somebody know something. And so,
hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
I started telling my group, at the time I was in group at Daymart. And that was for anxiety at the time. But this was beyond anxiety. This was actually visions of like living in the moment, seeing it right. It was like, I said one time, it was like somebody was playing, like my eyes had a TV in it, like just scenes going by. They were just flashing by my eyes, just one after another. The whole moment, from what happened from the time I was in the bed, and then by that second month of having flashbacks, it turned to something else. It was like I went from having flashbacks to now all I'm seeing is images of my mother and all this bad stuff that went on when I was a child. I kept flashbacking that just back to back. And it was horrible stuff I was seeing, y'all. And I'm not going to give you the details on everything I was seeing, but put it like this. Somehow my mind flipped itself backwards, because this experience triggered my mind backwards. And at the same time that it released all these images of my past I'm talking about from when I was a baby. I remember bruises that I didn't even, I had forgot about that happened. I didn't know that happened. My mind was just, I've been, okay, trigger warning. I have been SA'd a lot. Okay, a lot. Since a little kid. Y'all know what SA mean, right? The assault word, put the S word, the SX word, and assault, because we don't want to get banned, Let me say it real quick. Sexual assault. That right there. I've been that a lot. I've been the other word. Well, I just might as well say it. I've been the molest a lot. And I've been the taped. Y'all know, put R in front of tape. And all this started coming back. And I was angry. I was angry, y'all. When I tell you that I was angry, I was angry. I went from being really, really scared to now I was angry. And still having these flashbacks. Now I'm talking to people in my family like they know what's going on in my head. I'm going off. I mean, just going off. And I couldn't stop. It got to a point where I just didn't even want to be around family because it was too many bad memories for me. I couldn't sit around my mother. And then I don't know if my mother knew what I was going through or not, but it just seemed like she just kept adding fuel to it. Like she just kept making it worse, making it worse, making it worse. And at this time, me and my mother wasn't getting along. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's like every time she saw me, it turned into a fuss, and no matter how much peace I tried to keep, it was just no working it out with her. She didn't want to hear anything I had to say, and she didn't want to say anything nice to me when I didn't have anything to say. And it got to a point where I was like, I didn't want to go visit my daughter at her home because I didn't want to be the reason why. That in my mind, I was like, I don't want to be the reason why God be mad with somebody. So I love them enough that I can give them peace by staying away from them. And I didn't want to be the reason why she got agitated or had to lose her peace every time she see me. If I was a bad reminder to her, that thing guilted me, y'all. I felt like I was the reason why she had to go through a lot of suffering. And now I then took on all this shame and hurt and the blame game that went on. I then took on being the reason my dad passed, and I took on so much that really was not true. But at the time, I was vulnerable and I was sick. I was sick mentally and didn't know what was going on. And so I took myself to that place, and it got worse. Even though I said, okay, I'm all these things that you say, it got worse. Next thing what happens is a certain person came in my house and they poured gas from the front to the back of my house. I walked in and I almost collapsed, ended up in the hospital. Doctor says I was just a second away from my lungs collapsing. Another attempt on my life. That's 2 times in 2 months that I almost lose my life. See, y'all didn't hear that. That's 2 times in 2 months that someone has attempted to take my life. My mind could not handle that. I had a mental break in there. And how my mind stopped me from breaking down. When I say a mental break, the type of mental break I'm talking about is I had a flip. I had a switch moment where my brain shut off and it flipped everything out. It was like a blackout. I never blacked out though. In all that was going on, I never blacked out. But my brain did. It blacked out. When I tell you, I went from having all this memory to nothing. One day I woke up. I didn't have no memory. I couldn't remember childhood things. Couldn't remember my kids. I had to sit there and study them. And I still don't feel like I'm all the way there. I don't. To be honest, I'm healed, but I still don't feel like the connection is all the way back like it need to be. Because see, before it happened, I was real close to everybody. Could talk with everybody, could laugh with everybody. But when I lost my memory, I withdrew from everybody because I didn't know who they were. And I didn't want to, this is my first time talking about it like this, and I didn't want to tell them that I really don't know who you is. I mean, the whole time I'm sitting there and I got this Facebook page. My Facebook page is what helped me, y'all. When I tell you, I don't know, I knew to go on Facebook. I went on on my Facebook page and I studied my family members. I kept looking at their pictures. I'm about to cry telling this because I've never talked about it before. But I studied each one of my family members. I studied my grandchildren because I didn't know them. The man friend that had been in my life for over 8 years, I didn't know him anymore. He came to see me and I remember that I was so scared to be sitting with him because I had no clue who he was, but I knew he was a part of my life because I had these pictures in my phone of him. I had these pictures on my phone of him, and I had pictures where we were holding hands, pictures where we were smiling, pictures where we looked happy. Pictures where I could say, hey, that, it's something there. It's something there. I was like this for a whole year. More than a year. I would really try to talk to my family and tell them what happened, that I couldn't remember them the way they thought I could remember them. And at the same time, I was trying to protect myself too, because I was afraid if I tell them what's going on with me, somebody gonna try to have me committed. Somebody gonna be trying to say I'm crazy. So the one thing I knew to do was stay in therapy. No matter what, stay in therapy. Keep being honest with your therapist. I was honest with my therapist, and my therapist was like, girl, we got to get you to some higher care, a higher level of care, because what we do here, we don't even come close to that, working with that. So I had to wait a couple of months to get into the program, but finally I got into the EDMR program, and that was like a different side of psychiatry and therapy. It had a lot to do with working with my eyes. It had a lot to do with disassociation. It was so much, y'all. Amnesia stole my life. That's why, even though I'm going through what I go through right now, that's why I don't give up on life, because I got to keep living, because I lost out on a year. I lost out on more than a year. I was down for 3 years, y'all. 3 years. I had no memory. And my siblings, I don't even think my children understand. Sometimes I look at them, because some days I'm like, I'm still learning who you are, and you don't understand what I just came out of. I could get along with my mother because I didn't really, look, I'm going to tell you what I did. I put a prayer up. I said, Lord, because I was having so many flashbacks one day, and I put a prayer on Facebook, and I was like, Lord, please take these memories from me because they hurt me. And when he did, he took them from me. You gotta be careful what you pray for. I prayed that on Facebook. I didn't even speak it out my mouth. I wrote it, and he did. He took it away, but it was the only way that I could have life. Because see, if I would have kept the memories the way they were coming, because I would lay up in here, I would scream. Because everything would feel so real. I would scream and cry out loud because I didn't know my siblings. From my pictures, I could tell that we was a tight family, but I felt like I was no longer a piece of the family. That's the way it felt. I didn't feel like I felt like I was just here by myself. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I fitted or belonged. I couldn't go back to who I was. Whoever I was before then, I didn't even know how to get back to that person because that memory was gone. I didn't know what foods I liked, so that my whole appetite changed. Everything changed. How I dressed, how I talked to people, how I felt about my business. I lost business connections because I didn't know who in the world they were. People would be talking to me about something I did I don't know how many years ago. I didn't even know what they were talking about. Listen, I'm on the phone with people having to Google who I was. I was having to Google the programs they were talking about that I helped on. I had to Google who these people were. I didn't know them. They knew me good, and I would have to put their names in on Facebook, and I would have to go through messages. Listen, I'm telling y'all some real stuff here. I didn't know who they were. I had to go on Messenger, and each person that was talking to me about doing something, I would have to go to Messenger and see if I knew who they was, because evidently Messenger was my thing, and my emails. Messenger and emails helped me, and people's Facebook pages helped me, and I had to learn who they was. I had to learn what I did in music. Who was I in the music industry? I didn't even know I was an A&R. I didn't know that I was really a singer like that. I knew people kept asking me to sing, and I was so detached from singing. I was so detached from it, and it would come and go. Sometimes I would have this memory, and I think it would be like when I felt safe with a person, then some memories would come back. Little bit at a time, but not a lot. Just little bits and pieces. Like I might have a memory of my daddy giving me a candy bar. Then I had to distinguish it. Was that a true memory? Or was that a dream or something that I wished happened? Okay? So it turns out that I had to learn people over again. Some of y'all I still don't know like that. Even though we had years of connection, let me give y'all this one story. I went to this program. Once I found out that I was in radio, I decided, when my friend invited me to the program, he's like, come on, I got you. And he did. He had me. And because turns out he was one person at the time that I did have some type of connection with him. I didn't know what it was all about, but I was going to see, because it turned out that we had years and years of friendship. And when I read down into the messages that we had, I could tell that, me and him, we never really lost contact. We talk every day. We text every day. After I developed amnesia from complex PTSD, it didn't work like that no more. We went from seeing each other and talking to each other, videoing each other and texting each other, messaging each other every day, almost 12 hours out of the day, to I could only respond to him once or twice a month. I didn't know him. My heart wanted to say, I know you, but my logical mindset was still there to say that I don't know you like that. And since I don't know you like that, I don't think it's wise that we talk like that or we hang out.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And I do want to say that when we went to that program, it was people coming up to me and they was like, hey Coco, or hey Jamie, hey Miss Bowden, good singing. I was like, I have no idea who you are. And then they'd ask me something about music and I had to sit there and I would let them carry the conversation and I'd just be like, yeah. See, y'all know that saying, fake it till you make it? I did that for 3 years. For 3 years, I had to pretend like I knew who people were just so I could learn who they were. That's how I had to do it. That's how I learned who my real friends were and who just people was that, that we had the same interests in common, but we wasn't close friends like that. Okay, so I went all this time and now I'm going to tell you about the therapy, okay? I'm going to tell you about it. Now, the EDMR therapy that I had, I'm going to tell y'all. It did not complete. And I'm going to tell you why. I had a shady therapist who supposedly worked in EDMR. But every time I would start telling her the story of what I did know, she'd start getting triggered or acting like it was all about her. Next thing you know, I had to hear about her alcoholism addiction. I had to hear all this stuff about how she loves church, but she has to cuss. I mean, I went through so much with this woman, and then eventually this woman, she let me go, y'all. Didn't even give me no warning. Next thing you know, I get a call from the psychiatrist. My psychiatrist's name is, his last name is Weed. First of all, and I'm like, what the world is going on with this place? It was horrible. It was the worst experience ever. But after going to her for about, I'm going to say 7 weeks. But once I figured out she really wasn't teaching me nothing, and she kept saying that she couldn't do the EDMR like she needed to. Did y'all hear my car going off? Y'all hear that? Oh, wow. Okay, y'all want to... that is a big distraction. That's somebody's got my keys and they playing games. That's what that is. But y'all, I cannot stop talking because they playing games like that. Let me just get a little bit louder. So this is the thing. Every time I went to her, she claimed that we only did the treatment like 3 times out of the 12 weeks I was approved for. We only did it 3 times. I'm sorry, y'all. Somebody's got my keys. They got my keys. So I guess this is going to be part 1. Let me play a song and I'll come back. Well, as soon as I said that, it stopped. Okay, so let's get down into this treatment thing. So the treatment thing, you know what? Y'all just come back. Just come back. That's what we're going to do. We're going to break this into 2 halves. Because the first half is me telling you how I don't remember anything. And this second half, after this song, we're going to stay on this podcast. And then I'm going to come back with the second half after I take a little break and see what's going on. I just went on and got me a sip of water and said, let me get on back and get this done. So what I am going to do, y'all, I really want to break this into 2 parts. No, let me go ahead and keep talking. I got time. It's not even an hour yet. Okay, so what happens doing EDMR? I go in there, I meet the woman, and, it's just like a regular therapist appointment. And she starts talking to me and she starts asking me things about my past. And when she starts asking me things, I start disassociating, which is true. I was going in and out. Like, she asked me something and next thing you know, I would zone out. And it would be like, what did you say? I couldn't keep focus or anything. And so she couldn't do the EDMR, because with EDMR, you have to actually be present. And if you disassociate, then they can't do it with you. And so it got where every time I went, I was disassociating. And I was like, I must be discerning this woman, or her spirit ain't right or something. Because usually I'm pretty well focused into what somebody is telling me. Even if I am talking about the past, I do try to listen to what they say so that I know how to interpret it. But with her, it was just, I couldn't do it. I kept disassociating with her. Finally, I get fed up. One thing I know about me, I went to my Kiva podcast. You cannot tell me that Kiva podcast does not help women and that it has not helped some people, because that's what helped me. I went to the Kiva podcast and I would listen to the podcast about the PTSDs, the mental health, all that, about learning who you are. Those podcasts I do, it's so much that can help women grow. And I went back and I listened to it, and finally I was like, you know what? I gotta do this work myself. It seems like this woman really don't want to help me. And come to find out, she really didn't want to help me. She really didn't even want to be there. So I had to go and Google, what is EDMR? Y'all, let me Google it now. And prayerfully, we don't go off. Okay. So EDMR, what does EMDR, my bad, I've been saying it wrong. What does that therapy do? And it says a structured therapy that encourages the patient to briefly focus on the trauma memory while simultaneously experiencing bilateral stimulation, typically eye movement, which is associated with a reduction in the vividness and emotion associated with trauma memories. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's what the EMDR stands for. Again, it stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Okay, so that's what I went and I learned, okay? And I studied up. I must have read, I don't know how much I studied, but I studied tons and tons. Like what you would study in a year's time, I did it in probably 3 months. In 3 months, by 6 months, I was so well versed in EMDR therapy till it was like, I studied doctors, I studied therapists, I studied books, I read articles, I read treatments, I read what was good, what was said to be not so good about it. I did the pros and cons, all that. I learned about me some EMDR. And what I learned is that the eyes are the window to the soul. And that's why the Bible speaks of the eyes all the time. Because if you notice, with your eyes, you can feel things. With your eyes, when you see things, you can feel it happen. Everything you see with your eyes brings about an emotion. And I had to pick up and learn what my emotion was to certain triggers. And what was triggering me the most, what was causing me to black out like this, what was causing me to disassociate. and what especially was causing me to disassociate while I was with the therapist. Come to find out, I just didn't like the therapist. I didn't like the therapist because what did it, and I should have picked up on it when I first was there. I didn't like the therapist, not because I'm perfect or that I might not slip with a cuss word or two here and there, but because this woman presented herself as light and I saw nothing but darkness on her. That's why I couldn't do anything with her, and God wouldn't allow it. So whenever she quit and walked out and didn't tell me that, I kept telling my daughter, I kept saying, girl, I want to quit going down here because this woman is not helping me. Every time I go down here, she's dumping her problems off on me. And it was true. By the time I finished with her, I knew so much about her family. I then became family. Her husband, how he liked to drink, how he prayed, all this stuff. I didn't need her life. I was trying to get my life straightened out. But then again, I had to keep looking at it like this. Well, maybe God got me here for a reason, to learn this and, to just straighten me out, to make me go harder for me. And that's what I did. I went harder for me. So what I learned about the techniques of EMDR, when you're desensitizing the eyes are sensitive because of what they constantly see. And that's what triggers the emotion to have fear, anger, resentfulness. The eyes can cause you to have crying spells. The eyes can cause you to disassociate. And I studied myself. I would bring up a topic just so I could see if I did it. So what I would do is I would sit there and I would say rape, gang, words like that. Y'all pray I don't get in trouble for using those words. I would say some of the most sensitive words that would always cause me to trigger. And when I would say these words, I would feel myself go away from detach away from the word. Now, the word of God teaches me that we can be whole. So I had to learn how to stop detaching away from the word and being scared of the word and not just taking total control of that moment. So in order to do that, I had to train my eyes. What I did what I saw the man did. He did it on YouTube. He put his finger up to somebody's eyes and he said, follow. And I went to following. Every time I say a word and I start going out of zone, I put my focus back right. It was all about focus the whole time. And so when I would say these words, I'm going to say tape for that R word. So when I would say tape, and my eyes because your eyes go first. Your eyes will start looking weird. Like sometimes they'll dilate. Sometimes they'll get really big. And sometimes they'll get really small. Now, I found that when you be in a bit of rage or anger, the eyes get really small. Like those pupils get small. I'm talking about deep-seated anger. The eyes will get really small and almost like and dark. It's almost like you can barely see, like it's like an empty socket there. Anyway, I had a mirror and I did have the video recorders on my phone going so I could record myself whenever I would do these techniques. So I did this thing. I did it for all of almost 3 months. For 3 months, even though I was better within the first month of doing it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Within the first, within the first 3 weeks of doing this practice, and I was doing it 2 times a week, I got better. That I was better already like that. And whenever triggering things would come up, I would just repeat what I had learned. And it got where I stopped jumping. Cause y'all, I was jumpy at everything. Like if something moved, I jumped. If I heard a noise, I jumped. If I would see the triggers, cause when you do have this type of disorder and you have flashbacks or let me say, you can have hallucinations sometimes that'll accommodate this. And the hallucinations I was having was of certain animals that I would see. I would be outside and I would see these certain animals on the ground, or black spots. I would see them all around me. And I learned how to break through that. I kept telling myself, next time we see this, we're not running anymore. As a matter of fact, I used to have some podcasts that had it on there while I was doing this training to myself. I deleted them though, but they probably still out there somewhere. But I deleted them because they were that deep. And I mean, they were deep. And so when I would do this, I would be like, you're not going to run from this. See, I had to be my own advocate. That's what people don't understand. When you got to deal with therapists who half want to treat you, you better learn how to speak up for yourself. You better learn how to take up for yourself. You better learn what those terms mean that they're telling you, because the more understanding you have, the more healing you have. Each time you learn something, you become whole. And that's what happened for me. I kept becoming whole. Every time I would see the triggers coming and have the visions, not the visions, but the flashback, I would stay there. I got where I stopped running from or screaming or covering my ears and my eyes from the flashbacks. I started facing those flashbacks. I said, okay, so you want to act like you finna do something to me? I'm here. I'm present. I'm now finna defeat you. And I would stay there. In the moment. See, that's the thing about it. You got to stop yourself from disassociating. And I had to learn how to do that for myself. I don't know what that may be for you, but I had to learn how to stop disassociating for myself. And in that moment, I could stand there. When I had the flashbacks of me and my mom arguing, or me fighting, or me getting hurt, or, violated and stuff. When I would have those flashbacks, I would say, stay there. Because you know that you already lived through that. You didn't beat that. I coached myself through. You already didn't beat that. You already lived through that. That's not what's happening to you now. What's happening to you now is the enemy is trying to play with your mind and make you think that it's still happening. You need to stay there and face it. And I was like, oh my God. I'm having a flashback. I don't want to stay here. I want to go. And I did. I took off running toward the door. And I got to my door of my house. And the strength in me of everything that I had been training for in that moment, for when the next flashback came, it hit me and said, go back in your house and sit down. Deal with it. So I came back. As I'm having the flashback, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Grab me a piece of paper. I grabbed me a piece of paper and I grabbed me a pen and I began to write down everything I was experiencing, everything I was seeing. I wrote it down, and then I asked myself, now, do you see that for real, or is that what was coming in your eyes? That's what I would ask myself. And I'd be like, and then the question too, is you really in danger? Is you safe? Or is it in your mind that you're not safe when you really are safe? And so I would do the technique they tell you to do to calm down anxiety, which is pat yourself on the shoulders, or find 6 objects in your house and name them. Find, 3 or 4 different scents, smells in your house. Go outside, touch the ground. I started doing the grounding techniques along with it. And I tell you, I had to train my mind to stop running from something that wasn't real. And each time I did this, the more I trained my mind to stop running and train myself to stop running, because the body will do what it want to do too. Sometimes it don't have nothing to do with the mind. Sometimes the nerves in your body remember every word that they were told, or every action that was took on, every action that had happened to you, your body remembers that. Even if in your mind you're saying, don't do that, your body will jump without you even telling it to. Your body will start getting goosebumps if somebody walk up to you that been doing you wrong. Tell me I'm lying. Anyways, I still didn't get my memory back. After all that hard work to stop having flashbacks, and I'm going to tell y'all something, the flashbacks stopped. The anxiety stopped. The depression stopped. The guilt stopped. All of that stopped because I trained my mind to be strong in the time of battle. I had to train myself to be ready for when war comes. And that's war of the mind. When it comes, now we can't say that we're going to respond perfectly all the time. But there is some things that we can respond to and to calm ourselves down. I eventually came out with a podcast that did the first responder. That we are, the first responders of our soul. We're the first ones that know when we're in trouble. And I did this podcast. It was a 7-week training with exercising and all that good stuff that comes along with it. Writing, reading, learning how to do everyday things, that just normal things. Not doing nothing any extravagant or anything, but just something normal for once. Just being able to sit there, relax in your own home without jumping, without feeling so scary, without having panic attacks. Learning how to enjoy my own home was my biggest victory, because this was the same home where the trauma took place. And then I would later learn that more than just that trauma was affecting me. That's how I found out that I had complex PTSD. When the trauma it was just a long period of going through. I had came up with so many ways to survive trauma since the age of 7 years old. I had to learn how to let go of those ways because I was no longer a little girl. A man told me, you got to learn how to stay a woman. Even if you have to talk the little girl down inside of you that wants to come out and cut up and show out, you must learn to stay a woman. You're in your 40s. Stay a woman. And it was days I had to go back and see, what would a 40-year-old woman do? Look, if you don't know, go ask somebody. Go find out what 40-year-olds are doing. It sure beats being afraid of everything. I started doing that. Again, I didn't get my memory back. And I know we're coming down to the end of this. It was hard. I think the hardest part for me, because I had to train myself to let that little girl movement go, and I had to train myself to learn how to speak in my adult voice and not in the little girl voice when people would say or do things that I didn't like. And I think, honestly, that's a training that I feel like I would probably still need even to this day, because the trauma I went through, it lasted from the time I was a child, 7 years old, and it still goes on right now. So that's a practice that I'm going to keep doing. It's just things we got to manage. We have to keep learning so that we can keep growing, because it's always something different. But I tell you what, I did end up getting back, okay with my mother again. I did let go and I forgive. And I did end up back with my family. Now, I cannot say that the relationship went back the way it was before I had the amnesia, because there's still some things. I try to remember the good. And I'll say this, that a lot of the good memories with family have not came back the way I wanted it to. But I did get back a lot of memory. So I do know who each one of them are now. And I know who each one of them are now. And so I'm able to talk with them knowing that I know who they are now. Versus, just trying to fake it to make it. Now I actually really know who they are. And so I guess it's kind of like you just keep growing and rebuilding relationships. And I don't think that's something we should ever stop trying to do, is learn who each other is, because everybody's different. As we get older, our wisdom comes in, and some of us, we go our own way. And we start having new likes and new interests and new people come into our life. And we have to be accepting of one another when that change happens for the other. And so that's what keeps me going when I think about it like that. But I got my memory back in 2023. It was around, I want to say about, it was summertime because it was hot. I want to say July. And I didn't go to another therapist for a while after that. After that woman, I needed a break. I needed a break. I was like, no. Because in my heart, I knew I was right about her. And you know what? I may release some things where y'all can hear some things too. If I can get the right edits to go, I may just do that so you'll know what it was like for me to sit up under a woman who was so self-conceited that she didn't care about my needs. She cared more about getting her needs met or just ignoring the fact that I was there because I had a real problem. When I found out she wasn't trying to help me, that's what pushed me to learn. Now, 2023, it was around June or July when I got my memory back and it came back full. When I tell y'all, let me tell you, I started remembering things I did when I was a baby. I started remembering my favorite dogs. I had forgot about Johnny Boy. I remembered what Johnny Boy smelled like, how he felt when I used to ride his back. I was a little skinny something back then too. I remembered my daddy, how I used to get up and be ready for him to go to work. I started remembering my school teachers. Y'all hear me what I'm saying? A miracle. I went from... I think if I got any amnesia left now, it may be partial, a small part, because pretty much right now, I pretty much remember my kindergarten. My first award was a rose. I did a sponge rose, and that green was so pretty. And I won it, and it went to Raleigh. Yes. I remember that. I remember getting so many awards, making AB honor rolls, president's honor roll. I remember, you know what I love the most about this? Because for a long time, I disliked my mom. And what I learned out of this was not all my moments were bad with my mama. See, what happened was because my moments were blocked. Everything was blocked because of this trauma that was down inside of me. It was in my bones. It was in my heart. And it was blocking off all the good stuff right along with the bad stuff. So whenever finally I got healed and my body began to feel safe. My mind began to feel safe. And then all these good memories started coming back about my mom. And so then I started posting on Facebook. There were some good times. And I got excited because I was like, guess what? I wouldn't know how to sew if it wasn't for my mother, Cammie. She taught me how to sew. She made most of my skirts. She's the reason why I love wearing skirts and plaids and flowery things. She's the reason why I love to write. She's the reason why I love to talk. She loved to talk too. But she just do her, she has certain times when she want to talk, but she actually loves to talk and write. And she's the reason why I do that. The first time I ever wrote in cursive, you know why I learned how to write in cursive? Because of her. Because she used to sit to the table and she would write. To this day, she's 95. I want to say 95 years old. And she still sits up in her bed, on her bed, and writes. She loves to write. She gave me my first love for that. That's my passion. That's my baby, writing. And I got it from the woman who the devil tried to make me hate. If it wouldn't have been for her, I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't be able to write articles. I wouldn't be able to tell you a vivid story like I'm telling you now. But it was because of her that I fell in love with life. I liked it the way Mama cooked. I got a little scar on my toe, a little burnt mark. Guess what I was doing with Mama? I was up in the kitchen canning peaches. Being hard-headed, she said, don't mess with that pressure cooker. And I wanted to see how the gauge go. So when she moved the gauge and I stuck that little spoongy thing down in there, the gauge let out some excess water and it hit my toe. I still had that little mark there. So you see, she gave me a brutal for years. We did not start falling out until, now I ain't gonna lie, there were some bad things, but it didn't override the good. That's what I'm trying to say. Once the memories started coming back, I started being able to live my life. And that was in 2020. I was able to stand up for myself, and that's what brought me through. Even though I didn't have a memory, it had to be like that because I couldn't live with it. At the moment, I couldn't live with a memory. So God had to shut it down so I could learn how to handle it. And once I learned how to handle it, then that's when God allowed the memories to come back. And I think that's amazing. And that's one of the benefits you get of being a child of God, is that he will not give you more than you can handle, but he'll give you a lot to push you, but it won't be more than you can handle, but it will push you. Now, I know I'm going over a little bit here. I'm going to talk for about 3 more minutes, and then if we say any more on this topic, it'll have to be in a new podcast. But I would say Mother Cammie taught me so much, and to this day she teaches my girls, my granddaughters, how to write, how to draw. I mean, it's just amazing. The ones that the enemy was trying to make me hate was actually the ones I got most of my qualities from. I got most of my, being a loving and nurturing person, I got that from her. Because it was a time when Mother Cammie was not always like some of the things. She didn't start, when she started going through things, that's when she started changing. And I can understand that change now, because now almost hitting my 50s at 47. I like saying that too. I can feel that change in me too, where some of the things that I may have took interest in when I was younger, it may not be as appealing to me now. Because we have health changes, we have bone structure changes. It's just a woman's thing to change. And I can understand that and respect that now. But I thank God that I did get my memory back. And I remember when I got it back, I was standing in here and I was like, wait a minute. And I started shouting for joy. I was like, yes, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And I started crying, and I was like, I remember. That's how it was. I started crying because I remembered. I didn't care if they were good or bad memories. It was just the fact that I remembered. But y'all, I couldn't get my memory back until I let go of the hurt that I was experiencing. So every time I had a flashback, and I had to do this a lot, I would write it down, and then I would work out the problem. How can I solve this? How can I make this right to me? Even if the person is deceased and no longer here, how can I give myself peace in this situation? That's how I ended that thing. I always gave myself peace in a situation, just like the situation I'm going through now. I give myself peace because God said his peace is already within me. I just have to allow myself to have it. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm allowing myself to have peace. So thank y'all for listening to Lovely J Podcast. And look, I hope to come back and share some more with you, because I know somebody out here can use that testimony, right? That whatever you're going through, it's going to be all right. Just take your time, have patience with yourself. Know that all things will work out for your good, just like it did for me. And don't be falling out with nobody in the moment, because you never know. The next moment, God can make them it can just switch around. God can make it where they be the reason why you're doing what you're doing. She was the whole reason. The whole time the enemy tried to keep me from her was because he knew if I got up under her, I would learn more and it would push me further. All right, y'all. Gotta go.
If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, Did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications at TryLifeMD.com? We're now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
It's fun to put on jeans that you couldn't get into 6 months ago.
Every morning, I look forward to getting on the scale.
For anybody who's struggling with their weight, it's a godsend.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to TryLifeMD.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.